Good morning. Welcome to this service of worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Celeste Rogers, and I will be your worship associate this morning. A few housekeeping details first. The CDC has determined that COVID is now endemic, and the risk level in Pima County is currently low. Even though we no longer require masks be worn in worship and or in concurrent religious education, you are, of course, still welcome to wear a mask. If you are feeling sick, we encourage you to join us at home on YouTube. At the start of our pandemic, our congregation was very committed to being fully vaccinated and boosted, and for all of our sakes, especially the most vulnerable among us, please let's maintain that commitment. There are gender-specific bathrooms out the glass doors behind you and to your left, and there's also an accessible and gender-inclusive single-stall restroom in the alcove behind the AV desk. Now, our community is striving to become as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here now. Let us remember those desert people who came first to this place. We honor the Hohokam, the Yavapai, the Tohono-O'odham, the Yaqui, and the people who no longer exist as tribal entities here in Arizona. We commit ourselves to upholding each of the 7 Unitarian Universalist core values. These values bind us together into a community as we try to bring out the best in each of us, while recognizing the challenges inherent in each of us. One of these core values is generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope and covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our guest minister this morning is Reverend Linda Bunyard. I've known Linda for 40 years. At the age of 35, Linda took the great leap of faith to apply to the Star King School for Ministry in Berkeley, California. Raised a Southern Baptist, Linda spent her 20s in rebellion. She found the ancient goddess in women's circles and was eventually led to All Souls Unitarian Church in Colorado Springs, where she became the interim music director. I met her in a community choir called Soli Deo Gloria, where we sat together in the soprano section. Within a short time, I was singing in her choir at All Souls, and she was applying to Star King. She graduated in 1999 with a Master of Divinity degree, and then took off on a big adventure of interim and short-term ministries, eventually landing in Phoenix, and then coming to work as a part-time minister in Green Valley, now Borderlands UU. In 2007, she went back on the interim trail, serving 6 congregations from the northwest to the southeast, eventually ending up in Austin, Texas. After taking early retirement due to health concerns, Linda decided to follow me in my vocation as a therapeutic musician and entered the Music for Healing and Transition program. She was certified as a music practitioner in 2016. In 2019, she decided it was time to return to Tucson, to the home we bought together for our retirement. Linda has been a minister in affiliation with UUCT since July 2022. You've seen her a few times in the pulpit and at the piano. She has been leading an end-of-life study group since October 2023. Please give her a warm UUCT welcome. Our lead minister, Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, will return to the pulpit next Sunday. As we move now more deeply into the sacred space of worship, please know that you are indeed welcome here. Whether you walked, rolled, skipped, shuffled or hobbled in, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, whatever cultural and ethnic background you claim, whomever you love, however you identify your gender, and in whatever way you choose to express it, you are truly welcome here.
Our call to worship is a song.
It's a song.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Days are breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear parents? Oh, where are our dear parents? Oh, where are our dear parents? Days are breaking in my soul. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. Days are breaking in my soul.
Now, please join me in saying our words for chalice lighting, A New Light by Charles A. Howe. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through, to enlighten our ways. That truth is ever waiting to break through, to illumine our minds. And that new love is ever waiting to break through, to warm our hearts. May we be open to this light and to the rich possibilities that it brings us. If you are joining us on YouTube and have a candle or chalice nearby, please light it with us now as we light our chalice here in Holland. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, hymn number 26 in the gray hymnal. Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and concerns each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks, our collective celebrations and mournings. And also the smaller stones we will add to signify our individual joys and concerns. My heart still breaks every day for the people in Gaza. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let us remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We pour water from a plastic jug similar to the ones used by those seeking to assure greater access to water in the desert, like our ministry partner, No More Deaths. If you have a joy or concern, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 61478534. Brian isn't here this morning to help put up Menti responses. Would you be willing to do that, Jamili? Okay. So if any of you here in the sanctuary would wish to put your thoughts up on Menti, Jamili can help you do that. If you are here in person, I invite you to come forward and create ripples of hope by placing a stone in the bowl to symbolize your joy or sorrow. Please form two lines. Both sides may come up to the table at the same time to place a stone in the bowl if you wish. And then please return to your seats utilizing the outside aisles. If you choose not to come forward, please sit in quiet meditation and allow the waves of music to wash over you. and our mentee responses today. Grateful for chosen family gathered this holiday season. Amen. Sorrow about the ending of a relationship, but joy about thinking about what is going to grow next. I hope everyone has a happy new year filled with peace, love, and music, especially our UU troubadour, Jim Scott's Common Ground. May we acknowledge the joys and sorrows shared and those that remain unspoken by keeping a moment of silence held in the warm embrace of community.
Amid all the noise in our lives, we take this moment to sit in silence, to give thanks for another day, to give thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, to give thanks for the gift of life. We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. Let us open ourselves here and now to the process of becoming whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving more freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. Did you announce it?
Linda and I are going to give a musical response to this.
Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. There is more love somewhere. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere.
Please rise in body or spirit and sing number 391, Voice Still and Small.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing.
reading today is from the Gray Hymnal as well. It's number 666, The Legacy of Caring by Tandeka. Tandeka received her PhD in philosophy of religion and theology from Claremont Graduate University. She was given the Xhosa name Tandeka, which means beloved, by Archbishop Desmond Tutu in 1984. She's an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister and congregation consultant, and formerly an Emmy Award-winning television producer. Tandeka has taught at numerous schools of theology and is also the creator of the Love Beyond Belief initiative for moderate, liberal, and progressive congregations. The legacy of caring. Despair is my private pain, born from what I have failed to say, failed to do, failed to overcome. Be still, my inner self. Let me rise to you. Let me reach down into your pain and soothe you. I turn to you to renew my life. I turn to the world, the streets of the city, the worn tapestries of brokerage firms, drug dealers, private estates, personal things in the bag lady's cart, rage and pain in the faces that turn from me, afraid of their own inner worlds. This common world I love anew as the lifeblood of generations who refuse to surrender their humanity in an inhumane world courses through my veins. From within this world, my despair is transformed to hope, and I begin anew the legacy of caring.
On this last Sunday of the year, I am speaking like a frog. And so I may get a little bit more of that water as we go on. You know, I thought long and hard about even using the year 2025 in the title of my sermon. For the last few months, 2025 has come to mean the dangerous plan to dismantle American democracy that was developed by the Heritage Foundation and funded by donors who have given in secrecy. But in it went, into the sermon title, because we need to face this reality before we can transition into embracing a new year. I feel like we have been on a journey together in this congregation for the last 2 months. It's very much like the journey of Advent, although as Unitarian Universalists, we have a lot more to discuss on Sundays, so it would take an Advent wheel with enough candles for 8 weeks. All the harvest Thanksgivings have been celebrated starting from the autumnal equinox on until they folded into a time of Advent that began a few days after Thanksgiving. Advent, waiting. By the time we got nearer to the winter solstice, it was time to look forward to the joy of the return of the sun. But first we needed to honor the reality of how we've been living since November 6th. We needed comfort, as Reverend Bethany said, in naming these feelings of grief on that first Sunday in Advent. And there is so much to grieve. Running alongside all these seasonal holidays and the food we cook and the family and friends we gather, the gifts we exchange and the carols we sing, we have watched the political leader of Israel leave the people of Gaza to die in refugee camps after bombing their homes and their neighborhoods and thwarting the efforts of international food deliveries. These were people with whom the citizens of Israel shared a lot of culture and exchange, and in some cases they were family with each other. These refugees have been trying to maintain life as bombs fly, as their homes are destroyed, as their loved ones die or are severely injured. And the world watches. For week after week, I sat in my comfortable chair watching the nightly news as the bombing moved from the Palestinians nearby onto Lebanon, even Syria, under the guise of killing every Hezbollah member possible. And all this while Russia is continuing its siege on Ukraine. When I think about that night in the story of Jesus' birth, which was played out in a wild and amazing way on Christmas Eve here in this sanctuary, I think about Bethlehem. Oh, also, beautiful choir. I think about Bethlehem, which is now actually seated in Israeli-occupied West Bank of the state of Palestine. The stories that we tell about Christmas, that little town of Bethlehem, have come down from writers nearly 2,000 years ago. They wanted to remember their teacher. Decades later, the birth story became what we read in the Gospels. I love the shepherds, I love the angels, and the wise ones from afar. I was raised with this story and so many others in the Christian scriptures, and the message was, love came down at Christmas. My mother and her 3 siblings went on to 2 different pilgrimages to Israel in the 1980s to better understand what they had been reading in the Bible all those years. That first Christmas Eve, the night when, as the story goes, the baby Jesus was born in Bethlehem, that small town was filled with pilgrims from all across the land because every citizen had to go to register to be taxed in their own town of origin. So this was not just a sweet fairy tale. It was the reality of their homeland being under a new regime. Their country was under a new regime in both government and taxation. The leader had supreme power. The people were no longer valued as citizens, but as subjects and taxpayers, and often just an inconvenience to the new leaders. Reverend Bethany said last Sunday in the pulpit, "Beloveds, I know that many of you are simultaneously waiting for the other shoe to drop and also hoping for another world to be born." I think that's where most of us have been recently. Doom scrolling and anxiously awaiting the 5 o'clock news has been a part of my life. I don't want to hear the next insult to our democracy by the president-elect and his favorite oligarch, but I feel that I need to keep up with the next assault on our democracy. First, we tried to understand how the former president was even able to win the election. Now we rage at his policies, at the policies he's announced, at the improbable nominees he has named, people who either have no experience in the area of expertise to which they've been given charge, or who have expressed an interest in tearing down that part of the government. People who've expressed openly their hatred for the many refugees who are not white. How do we get to hope as we listen to the news each day? Their mockery of the democratic form of government. How can we believe that the same man that nurtured the hatred 8 years ago in his first 4 years will not turn our country upside down? Perhaps start World War III and tear down every good structure that our foremothers and forefathers built to ensure freedom and the pursuit of happiness. Tim Haley, in that reading you heard earlier, reminds us, "We know we are on our pilgrimage here, but a brief moment in time. let us open ourselves here, now, to the process of becoming more whole, of living more fully, of giving and forgiving freely, of understanding more completely the meaning of our lives here on this earth. I myself have acted as if I were powerless for a large part of the last 2 months, reacting to each new assault against our democracy. Here's my confession. I've spent years trying to define a God that is large enough to contain the universe, but also personal enough to hear my prayers. It's my own loss trying to define God. There are so many ways to open our hearts to that greater consciousness and love, ways that don't involve the definitions of God we may have learned in childhood and maybe no longer embrace. We could be out walking the labyrinth. We could be drumming and dancing. We could be journaling, making our own prayer book, daily listing things for which we are grateful. We could be singing, making music with one another. After my feminist rebellion with God as a bearded old man, even the ancient images of the strong, powerful woman didn't feel my need for connection. And lately, I've been imagining God as they. It's not too late to create our rituals of drawing power to act. Not too late for prayers. Not too late to imagine the other world that we want to be born. Because a new light is ever waiting to break through to enlighten our ways. A new truth is ever waiting to break through to illumine our minds. Swallowing, sorry. Recently, though, I stopped worrying that America was doomed, and with it, perhaps the entire globe. Because somewhere deep inside in my childhood faith, it reminds me that good will triumph evil. I believe that this president-elect cannot sustain his path toward inauguration after the last few weeks of his outrageous behavior, after appointing foxes to run hen houses, after turning on the faithful politicians who had supported him, after inviting the richest man in the world, who, by the way, began his career working as an illegal here in the United States, and to purchase what favors he needs to undo centuries of American policy so he can become even richer. But just because I quit worrying doesn't mean that I don't spend hours each day finding out what the former president has done in the previous 24 hours. It means that I'm watching for the signs that his plans are crumbling, that his party has lost confidence in his leadership, and that he will be found guilty of treason for working with the enemies of the United States. I really wish it could happen before January 20th. But I believe it can happen. What about you? What have you found to hold on to during this turbulent time? Do you have a practice that allows joy and light to come through when you are down? Can you see a time when we will not be bombarded with troubling news about the changes planned for the United States governance and the rights we hold dear? Stop and think about this for a moment. What have you found to hold on to? And this is congregation participation now. When you are ready, turn to somebody nearby and share your thoughts. And then when we come back together in a few minutes, I have a story to share with you that happened right here in this sanctuary. asking you the question now because I don't have a good answer, obviously. Ditto. Some of those I share. I gotta do more God stuff. And I gotta learn to say it like it is for me. It's hard on me stopping talking to my own good colleagues and friends because we don't say God anymore. And I'd like to bring God back. I think people are enjoying talking to each other. I'm getting the sense you're enjoying this. Let's bring our conversations to a close, though. I'm going to close with a Holly Near story. On November 21st, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson hosted Holly Near for a concert right here in this sanctuary. There were over 200 of her fans right here in this room, with some of us that you know had been selling tickets, being sound technicians, and making other arrangements. It was an inspiring concert just a week before Thanksgiving Day. Now, many of you know Holly Near's songs of justice and activism because of being in this church and because of events like our General Assembly, where she has been as the guest speaker for one evening. But this concert allowed her to tell us what is still happening. She told the stories behind the songs, and at the end she sang a song that was about her activism, and it's called "We're Still Here." The verses speak about the Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, about book banning in our schools, about election fraud, and so many other issues where she and others stood and sang in protest. She has a verse that refers to showing up at protests with our walkers and our canes, because it's been that long since she's been protesting. And the verse always comes back to this refrain: "We're still here, choosing love over fear. When the lines are drawn, we're still here." And that's what I would like to say today. We're still here, choosing love over fear. When the lines are drawn, we're still here. May it be so.
Thank you for that beautiful music, Danielle. This church is supported by the voluntary generosity of all who join with us. However you participate in today's service, our congregation depends on you for your love, your time, and your financial support. For those of you here in person, the ushers will soon be passing the collection baskets among you. For those watching us from afar, you can send a check to our church office, give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or text 833-361-5796. The offering we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May your offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission.
Good morning. My name is Carolyn Valdez, and one of my favorite volunteer activities is serving on your Board of Trustees. First, I want to invite everyone to social hour after the service in Goddard Hall, which is out those double doors behind you and to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, snacks, and good company. Social hour food and refreshments are free for all, and donations are appreciated to cover our costs. If you are new and want to stay in touch with us, you can fill out a guest information card in the Welcome Center in Goddard Hall. You can also find a virtual guest information card in the newcomer section of our website. I'm the portfolio holder for Community Life, which is a position on the board. And I want to highlight one of my groups, the book club. We choose our selections from a wide variety of topics that reflect our UU values, varied interests, educational topics, and some just for enjoyment. We now meet on Zoom every second Thursday morning and are looking into an evening group. If you're interested, please email Jan Healy or talk to me. Thank you.
Do we have any children who are going to join us? They're on their way. Well, please rise in body or spirit, and we're going to sing our gratitude song. We are grateful for community, for gifts we share, and how we show our love and care. With thinking minds and helping hands, we'll build a place where love and hope expand.
Do we need to do it again?
Let's sing it
Did it
again.
work?
Let's sing it again. We are grateful for community, for gifts we share, and how we show our love and care. With thinking minds and helping hands, we'll build a place where love and hope expand. Up, I see the door opening.
I Am Love, a Book of Compassion by Susan Verde, art by Peter Reynolds. When I see someone going through a storm of hurt and unfairness, of anger and sadness, when the sun disappears and the skies grow dark, and I see there is fear, I ask myself, what can I do to help let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and listen, and that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and not say a word. I can be there. Love is being present. I can hug and hold and say, everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can speak softly and choose my words and actions carefully. Love is gentle. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what's important to me. Love is creative. I know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. Love is tiny gestures. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know that all creatures are made from the same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in for others and for me, I know now there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. We are love. And with love, we will weather the storm and light up the sky together.
Songs. Sorry, the best stories. Please rise in body or spirit and sing with us our final song. It's called This Is My Song, number 159. Please say our chalice lighting words with me. Number 698 by Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone.